So you want to main the Lash. Well, do you like grappling? Do you like whips? Do you like flying around a Mach 7? Do you like stomping? Do you like throwing people? And do you like being an asshole? Then Lash, the Lash, is for you. Jacob Lash is an arsehole. No, seriously, this is Lash's entire bio. If you want to know more about Jacob Lash, you have to look more into his interactions with other characters and the things he says about himself in-game. Jacob Lash is a champion bear pit fighter with only one loss known to his record being Bebop. Outside of the bear pit, Jacob Lash is a known stevedore. A stevedore, that for those that want to know, and it's a little bit of a life lesson, is a dock worker, responsible for loading, unloading, and storing cargo in ships. In this case being airships, considering the fact that, the cursed apple is magical. And considering New York is a massive part of the trade industry, and even more so in the said cursed apple, Lash isn't all that important outside of his bear pit activities. And so, the Lash has one very singular, very simple-minded goal for the ritual. And that is showing the world the greatness of the Lash. Even if he is just a stevedore. This little fact, however, doesn't take away from the one thing Lash is known for from the other characters. His galaxy-spanning ego that spurs him to never shutting the fuck up.
Do we have a plan?
Think we need one?
Probably.
Ivy, a plan's a list of things that don't happen. What we need is the Lash.
We need you?
Goddamn right you do.
Jacob Lash, if he could, would claim himself to be the second coming of Jesus and somehow create a religion out of himself. And considering his interactions with characters like Viper...
So, Viper.
Who do you want dead?
No one.
Just making sure, because I got 2 hands, a knife, and real bad impulse control. So what do you need?
Nothing. You're great.
Yeah, we are.
He could 100% pull it off. Paired with his massive ego, Lash likes using nicknames instead of the actual names of characters and his allies, which plays into something the Lash loves to do, and that is rage bait the ever-living fuck out of everyone he ever comes across, on purpose. I couldn't explain to you why he does it or how he does it, but it's hilarious to witness when he rage baits the wrong person and he swiftly corrects himself. More specifically, 7.
You're the pit fighter, yes? You mispronounced champion. How silly of me. Mistakes happen, Glowstick. What did you call me? Glowstick. It's your new nickname. Call me that again, and I will pop your eyes like grapes. 7 it is.
Seriously though, the more I go through the cast of Deadlock, the more I realize 7 might actually be the best written character of the bunch. 7 players, y'all just eating good with the writing, like straight up. I might have to do a video on y'all. 7 aside, there is one person that Lash absolutely despises, and we all know it's because of that one loss on his bear pit fighting record, and that is Bebop. Lash and everyone's favorite mama's boy have had a rivalry for as long as they've both been bear pit champions, and both of them seem to have a shared mutual hatred for one another, which makes some very funny quips.
I hope you enjoyed that, Bebop, because you're gonna be experiencing that again and again. You see that? I killed Lash. I killed Lash.
I'm all for it. In-game, Lash is one of the most mobile characters in the game. A high damage spirit assassin, and personally, my top 3 for the most fun characters in the game. He's incredibly feast or famine, so when Lash gets going, he becomes really difficult to shut down, and an absolute mid-game monster, with strong team fighting ability with his massive AoE, thanks to Death Slam and his stomps, and Flog to a degree, but we'll get into those later. Lash in his toolkit has massive pub stomping potential, and as such, I will go over the usual with his kit. Starting off, his weapon is Tail of the Tape. A mid-range, 3-round burst weapon that does 49 damage per second at base with no boons. Its fall off being 20 to 58 meters as always, and as you know what I love to do, here is some Fist of the Math Star. Lash's weapon is in the same class of functionality as Doorman's weapon. You can build for it if you want, but you won't exactly see much use out of building Lash for gun, unless you're running debuffs. Its one upside in comparison to Doorman, however, is that Lash actually has decent uptime for poke damage thanks to its interval between bursts, allowing you to actually farm lane and confirm souls with Lash without many issues, poke without many issues, and play a normal lane without many issues unless you're into a counter pick matchup, which, yeah, I will let Faith do the explaining on that one. Paired with Lash's abilities, you can actually win lane in certain circumstances. And now we move on to Lash's abilities, starting with the great one, Ground Strike. The Lash stomps the ground beneath him, damaging enemies in a cone in front of him. If Lash is airborne when he casts Ground Strike, he dives quickly towards the ground, increasing the amount of damage he does dependent on distance falling. The damage scaling grows slower after 25 meters, and here's some dive math. Ground Strike is Lash's main form of damage. You want to be in a good positional advantage to allow for yourself to get a big chunk of damage. You can actually rotate Ground Strike to change where the AoE would occur, but it's at a 90-degree angle, and after that it is fixed. But just a warning, however, Ground Strike can be very fickle. Where you are aiming and where you land can actually be very different. There are times where I've hit a ledge on a little bit of terrain that I didn't want to hit, and my damage never came out. And I've missed several very good, very high damaging ground strikes because I've landed on said ledge. It's a trial and error sort of deal, you have to get used to it. But how does one get to that airborne superiority? Well, that's where Lash's second ability comes in, which is Grapple. Lash pulls himself through the air towards a target. On use, this ability also resets the jump and air dash limit, and here's some grapple math. There's not much to this ability aside from the higher boon tiers, where you get the extra stamina refresh alongside the jump and air dash reset limit, and it turns him into this game's version of Spider-Man. And I will not explain further. Lash's third ability is Flog. Lash strikes enemies in front of him with his whip, healing for a portion of the damage dealt, and here's some whip math. Flog is Lash's main poke and sustain tool. Flog is also used in conjunction with a few items that can help make Lash an excellent skirmisher. There's actually a whole playstyle built around Flog Lash, and it's not exactly interactable. It's certainly not as fun as Dive Lash, but once again, that really depends on what lane you're playing into. I'll let Faith explain that later. For Lash's ultimate, we have Death Slam. Lash focuses on enemies to connect whips to him. After the channel is finished or the ability is used early, Lash lifts up and throws enemies into the direction of his choosing. This ability cannot connect to enemies not in line of sight, and here's some yeet math. Death Slam is a playmaker's wet dream. You fly up as high as you can, connect as many enemies as you can, and you throw enemies into your team. And it sets up for so many different plays. Pick potential is one thing. Death Slam has insane pick potential. Not only that, it's a very massive threat, even from behind on Lash. Death Slam and its just pure threat of being team-wide CC'd into a wombo combo of ultimates makes Lash, even from behind, a useful character, despite being feast or famine, of course. And that's actually the main overview of Lash, but how do you play Lash? Well, I've mentioned them a couple of times here, so I might as well introduce y'all to my personal GOAT of the Lash. Faith, you're up.
Thank you, Azura. I'll take it from here. Truth is, there is no playing Lash. When you lock this character in the queue, you are signing a contract. Truly experiencing Lash comes before even getting into a game. You must get into the mindset, into Lash's mindset. What you need to do is you need to become the Lash. Great, you're in character and in game. What now? I'm glad you asked, because quick, check what lane you're on. If you're playing yellow, you have won the Lash lottery. The reason for this is the structures that make up yellow lane. Unlike, for example, green lane, the central structure is something that you can actively stand on. And as the true crane-trained stevedore that you are, your job is to get up on this crane and slam. You should generally be unlocking your slam first in this lane, and I even usually put 1 point into it for the cooldown reduction. As Lash up here, you are the king of the crane. You are incredibly hard to contest off this high ground, as you can easily hit slams of over 300 damage right at the start of the game. Make sure you have enough stamina left over to get out though, because otherwise you will be going from a very handsome man to a very dead very handsome man. If possible, you should play yellow. Try to swap into it if you can. If not, you'll have the choice of green or blue. Green is the second best, I would say, but it's much better if you get to play it on the Hidden King side, and that's not just because the intro soundtrack for the Hidden King is much better than the Archmothers.
Yeah, I'm the Hidden King, yeah, do my fucking thing, yeah.
But it's because green lane doesn't have a standable structure in the center. This means that you can only play the rooftops, and because the Hidden King side rooftop is much better offensively, it's a lot easier to hit slams. You can play the rooftops on the Archmother side, but I usually only do it once I'm cowering in fear, begging my laner to kill the heal creep at 15 HP, as after you hit one slam, they'll pretty much permanently be playing far back enough that you can't hit them. Still very good if they're playing up at your tower though, so don't ever stop looking for easy slams. And lastly, blue lane. This is my personal least favorite. There's not that many good spots to slam from, even defensively, so you're not going to get that much value out of the slam. You can get on top of this sign on each side for height, but it uses up so much stamina and time that the enemy will pretty much always notice and avoid you. For this lane, I like to turn into a disappointingly ground-based life form and build up my flog instead. The main redeeming quality of mid is that if you do win lane, you have these crazy fast ganks on both side lanes. What's important to note is that on any one of these lanes, you can hop on and off the zipline to instantly gain enough height for a decent slam. The enemy can counter this by shooting you the second you hop on it, but 95% of the time, you can hop off before their puny brains can even process that you're sonable. Now, I haven't actually been over your general plan of attack in laning phase. Your first priority is looking at what your matchup is. While Lash may be the single greatest character ever made, Yoshi is a bebop main and created characters that actually are not completely free kills. Think about how they can contest you. For example, Billy. He has extremely disruptive knockups that prevent you from escaping, usually meaning if you slam him while he has his abilities up, you get a premium flight straight back to the spawn room. After looking at the matchup, try to play passive and use your slam only when you have enough stamina to get back out. You want to wait until you have enough souls for tier 2 whip and Quicksilver reload, as this is your main power spike and will allow you to show the enemy laners why people consider Lash to be a lane bully. You get your whip back every 10 seconds or so once it's upgraded to tier 2, and you want to be using it off cooldown. This should be interweave with as many slams as you think that you can get away with. Once you get your ult, do not be afraid to use it to just kill one person in lane. Hate criming the Flying Vindicta is an absolutely fair and valid option, and if you can get a kill out of it, do it. Look for picks with your teammates' ults as well, and you will bully most lane opponents with your pure raw Lash strength. Once a tower goes down, I usually consider laning phase to be over for Lash. Whether that be the enemies, or in the unlikely case that they manage to take yours, you should roam. Big mistake that I see most players make is that they gank losing lanes. Your greatness should be used on lanes that stalemate or are almost won by your team. This is because these lanes are a lot easier for you to gank into a kill, and this usually leads to the tower going down by the three of you. You want to value speed and time when ganking, and sitting in a losing lane slowly whittling down your opponents prioritizes neither of these. Once you've successfully helped such inferior beings win a lane, you are free to go bless the other lanes that are losing with your presence. Remember to use your ult to win these ganks quickly. If you see on the map that an enemy is over the halfway line, or even better, if they dare to fight under a guardian, you should absolutely go educate them on the feeling of being picked up and forcibly hurled into the 12-meter tall ceramic golem that is literally on fire. After most guardians go down, your main job is to dominate the mid game and allow your hyper carry to take over for late. You want to harass the characters that you're more capable of detonating and be stealing enemy jungle while scouting for team fights. If someone is out of position, you want to be there. You have a lot of great tools to punish people who are way too far up, and even better, if you have a teammate that'll follow you, you can pretty much gank anybody on the enemy team. Once a team fight comes up, you want to be there. Your job in a team fight is to make the game unplayable for their backline. If they don't have a backline, your job is to punish low HP opponents or people who are simply out of position. It is really important that you make a plan to get back out after you slam, as even though we are the embodiment of greatness, if we slam into 4 of them without our grapple, it only takes 2 of them to cave our incredibly attractive face in. I recommend trying to escape onto the rooftops or other high places, not only because this allows you to slam again, but it becomes very hard for most characters to match your ability to gain height and chase you. When you should ult is pretty open-ended here. Unless you are using your ult to force an opening pick, you should wait until 1 or 2 of your teammates are already fighting. The 2 times this changes is for mid-boss and the Unstable Rift. For the Unstable Rift, I personally wait until my team has 99% completion on it so that I can try to ult all the remaining enemies out of the circle. This obviously guarantees us to claim it if I can land it. This doesn't always work, but it's worth going for. A little side tip is that if the rift spawns on yellow, make sure to sit on the crane again. You are still crane certified and it is in the radius, so it has the same benefits it did before with the added advantage of letting you stall for your team. With mid-boss, you want to wait for the crystal to be about 3/4 of the way down and then ult. It's the exact same thing when contesting. You only need to ult the people immediately on the crystal itself as to give your team a better chance of winning the melee skirmish. If you don't have your ult, you're pretty useless, so just go relegate yourself to being a parry bot and and go for the punches with your team. Late game, unless you are very ahead, you usually want to focus with your ult. While you still want to look for priority targets to spirit burn if you run it, and squishy little backliners to detonate, your main focus in most games is to get a kill or two with your ult. It is extremely powerful to use it at any point in a fight. No matter if you're using it just to get an opening pick or to kill somebody that's fleeing. As long as you're getting a kill or two with it, you are getting value. What you must be doing is checking what enemies are buying at this point. Be on the lookout for counterspells, knockdowns, and other ways that they can ruin your day and prevent your ult from finding value. Do not be scared to buy counter items like Unstoppable. It is much better to guarantee the ult than to deal slightly more damage with it. Also, don't be scared not to dive in. I know the Call of the Void beckons you when you see that one low HP target, but sometimes there's 4 people around them and you simply will not get out if you get in. Your life is more important than 1 kill. Otherwise, stick with your team, make callouts, and keep doing it until you complete the ritual. I know you can. If you want to see more Lash gameplay in action, you can check out my Twitch.
And that, my friends, is the masterclass seminar that Faith has so lovingly provided us. And since Faith was mentioning items during the gameplay breakdown, I think it's time we move on to items and builds. And yes, I will be using Faith's builds for this. I'm going off of the GOAT themselves, and I use Faith's hybrid Lash build quite a bit. So we're gonna go from the top. For gun, you're building in the same vein as Doorman, Headhunter, Recharging Rush, Crippling Headshot, and many of the debuffing items that gun has its usages for. There is a rare use case for stuff like Spellslinger, it really depends on, once again, the matchup you are in, and Mystic Shot is just a really good early game choice in general because not only do you get the extra spirit damage, you also get the extra poke damage, and Lash can make use of the poke damage quite well when paired with stuff like Headhunter, and combined with your other spirit items, which we'll get into down the line. Another sleeper item, in my honest opinion, and I've talked with this with Faith a couple of times, would actually be Ballistic Enchantment. Now, I've put it on Lash's Death Slam multiple times, but Lash's 3 is more of a consistent way of getting that extra ability range on Flog, extra sustain, extra weapon damage. It's not too bad. I can make a use case argument for it, but it really depends on how things go from there. For green, you know where I'm going with this. I'm gonna list off the big 3 of Lash's builds: Trophy Collector, Stamina Mastery, and Unstoppable. Stamina Mastery is Stamina Mastery. My heart beats and it lives for Stamina Mastery Glazing. Stamina Mastery Glazing is the reason this heart still beats. Unstoppable because you're going to get CC'd when you set up for ultimates. It's a must build on Lash in my honest opinion. I know there's some use cases, but I genuinely think as you're playing a character like Lash and your entire value in a team fight comes from blowing people up and assassinating people or setting up for big team fight ultimates, you're gonna need Unstoppable so that way you can deal with some CC. And Trophy Collector, it's good. Trophy Collector is just always a solid item. On Lash, if you're ahead, mandatory. This item is so good if you are stomping with them. Your choices are in Anti-Spirit, are Resilient and Spellbreaker, and your anti-gun is Plated Armor or Metal Skin. Another thing that I would like to note is that Lash loves mobility. Pick up something, a Majestic Leap or a Warp Stone for even more of said mobility. Or if you want to be incredibly funny, pick up Magic Carpet and fly around for the hell of it. Your usual regens work too, but you're not really building much else for green aside from your actives and a few like tertiary defense items. Oh, Reactive Barrier and Indomitable. Another 2 very good items because, you know, it's Reactive Barrier. Reactive Barrier tree, always good. For Spirit, you are building pure damage, like Mina, but a little bit more front-loaded. Boundless Spirit, Mystic Reverb, Spirit Burn, and Tank Buster. Everything else is a product of preference, but those are your core damage items. Spirit Burn is just very important, especially in the later game, because when you get that 70% anti-heal going, you can actually really blow a target up with the extra damage. Mystic Reverb is really good when you put it on your 1, because not only do you do a crap ton of damage, the lifesteal you get from it, with how high you fly up with your 1, very, very nice. Boundless Spirit is Boundless Spirit, we all know what Boundless Spirit does, and Tank Buster is mandatory if you're playing into more of a brawl-heavy matchup, or Lash is really bad counters like Billy. Charges and cooldown work excellently on Lash as well. Superior cooldown, Transcendent cooldown, extra charges, rapid recharge. It really depends on preference for those charges, especially since, you know, the flex slot sort of thing. But I like using rapid recharge, especially when you pair it with the tier 3 grapple and giving all that stamina refresh, paired with, you know, stamina mastery, makes it so you are incredibly hard to shut down with movement. Unless you know, fuck up and get slammed, get fucked, and then end up in several different positions of fuckery. And at that point, it's a skill issue. And cooldown items, in the great words of Todd Howard, simply work. The other items that you also build on Lash sometimes depend more on the matchups. Another one that Lash does like building is QSR, because QSR is a must in Lash's lane phase. You need to reload to continue your poke, and when you pair that with Flog, get some extra cooldown, extra sustain, extra healing, it's usually really nice, but you wouldn't, and I really do mean this, you wouldn't build into Mercurial Magnum. You would just sell it off for one of your more core items and you build into Flex. The average counters of mobility, stuff like that, slowing Hex, Silence Wave, Focus Lens, all of the usual suspects for active items. Aside from that, building really does depend on what you want to do. Remember to build smart, play your strengths, and you should be able to summon that patron in no time. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of the greatest character to exist, the Lash. We love the Lash. We want to be the Lash. We will continue to glaze the Lash, for the Lash is the GOAT, and he will never die. In all seriousness, though, Lash is an incredibly fun character to play. He is a little bit weird to start off with, but when you understand how his kit works on a baseline level, that's when you can start really experimenting and see what works with him. He's fun. Lash has always been a fun character. There's a reason why he's one of the most played characters in the game, and that's because of how fun he really is. I would recommend you give Lash a go, whether it be in Street Brawl or a regular game of Deadlock if you really want to learn, but I would say Street Brawl if you want to learn mechanics only. And remember, don't inch your games, build smart, don't build left to right unless you're below Oracle or you're ahead. And I'm getting back to blasting international love because Andrew Bowen as the Lash. And I'll see you all around in my next video. I'm debating whether or not it will be Wraith or 7. Later, goobers. Bye.